Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and today I'm going to start this show. I've got a lot of good information, and a lot of you that have been listening to me for a long time. I want you to understand some of the things that I'm going to show as we go forward are going to be things that you may have seen before. Not all of the things I show, but some of the things that you'll see me kind of rehashing some things as we go forward, because we have a lot of new people that are coming into this market now that XRP has been surging. And so I wanted to make sure I covered that first. Now, but what I'm about to show you is from Chinu Patel. But first, before I go into that, I wanted to look at the market. I forgot to pull the market up. Let's see what we're dealing with this morning. We've got $306 billion. I think we've been as high as $307 billion in this market. And right now, XRP, it was surging yesterday afternoon, I believe. But we're at about 33.5 cents right now. We've had the last couple of weeks have been pretty darn good. Okay, Chinu Patel sent me this. Now, what you're about to see is, and I'm not going to show you the whole thing because it's 9 minutes, but this is Mike Novogratz, who I may sound like I pick on a lot, but I want to explain this to you before I go into this Mike Novogratz thing. Many of the people that have been listening to me for a long time, many of us were there in 2018. We've been doing this and talking about this for the last year and a half, 2 years, okay? And there's a lot of people listening to my voice that can totally identify with how hard it was to go through the bear market, because we weren't just holding XRP while the markets were going down or in the red for 2 years. But we had to endure guys like Mike Novogratz and guys like Tushar Jane, who I'm going to show you in a minute. And we had to endure all of these people. And then not just that, but the traditional media, traditional financial companies that were and people like Jamie Dimon, they were all just pounding, just kicking crypto while it was down. And they were saying things that weren't true. And Mike Novogratz to this day is saying things he knows are not true with regard to Ripple and XRP. And he's doing it because he wants to make his money off of Bitcoin. And so I think it's important, and I see part of my role is to make sure that these guys are stamped into the history books and shown with their own words, not my words, but I want everybody to know that these guys, I want everybody to see what they said, because in my opinion, their words have hurt a lot of people. There's a lot of people that may have gotten out of XRP because they're not shooting you straight. And so I think it's important to show you this, and I'm going to show you this. Here's Novogratz. He's on CNBC, and if you'll notice, he goes out of his way not to even say XRP in this interview. Now, I don't know if I'll get to that part because it may have been further in it, but he does. He mentions Bitcoin, he mentions Ethereum, I think he even mentions Litecoin. Intentionally doesn't mention XRP. It's totally disingenuous. Watch this.
Since September 2019,
I'm going to refresh this so that we can get this going right. Please tell me we don't have to watch an ad. Okay.
Bitcoin surpassing $10,000 this week, highest price since September 2019, and the cryptocurrency is up more than 40% so far this year. Joining us for more on this and other market tidbits is the closer today, Michael Novogratz, founder, CEO, and chairman of Galaxy Digital, which invests in cryptocurrencies. Good to see you.
How you doing?
What's driving Bitcoin right now?
You know, liquidity. We've got global rates low, people pumping in money. You look at China and you kind of just do an aerial view, nothing's moving in China, which means the government's getting ready for 2 barrels of liquidity. And so it's driving stocks, it's driving crypto, it's driving gold.
So if liquidity is the driver of Bitcoin, why hasn't it just been kind of going up for the last, I don't know, 11 years every time the Fed goes easy or cuts rates.
So Bitcoin's 11 years old. It's found a lane as digital gold. You don't become digital gold right away, right? And so there's a story of slow adoption. Just last December, ICE, has a group called BACK, part of the New York Stock Exchange, and they said we're going to do crypto custody for the first time. Fidelity did the same thing. And so all of a sudden there's a safe place for people to store their Bitcoin in the perception of the 50 to 80-year-olds who have all the wealth in America. And so we're seeing more and more plumbing built to allow people to feel comfortable buying
Is
this.
it actually safe, though?
It is safe. Listen.
We've seen hacks, we've seen price swings, and all sorts of stuff that would make an investor nervous.
And so, remember, you got to put it in perspective. Bitcoin is probably the best new brand of the last 11 years. $200 billion market cap.
No, XRP
a line
is.
of code that came out 11 years ago, right? It's a social
Look here, they've included XRP without us asking, by the way.
construct. It's nothing technical. We could have taken that same line of code, call it Sarah coin, and who knows what it would be worth. But because people have believed it's now a store of value, similar to gold. Gold's got 3,000 years and 10 trillion. Bitcoin's got 11 years and 200 billion.
Yeah. Certainly, we hear these comparisons, this idea that it's a safe haven, that it's digital gold, and I'm hearing you talk about the fact that it's found that it's lane. What about all the other different types of cryptocurrencies that are out there as well, including maybe some of the ones we haven't even seen yet that could be asset-backed by things like gold? I think,
listen, we are going to see, the one thing that we learned last year with the announcement of Libra is cryptocurrencies, stable coins, blockchain systems are going to be part of the economic infrastructure of this world and the consumer infrastructure of this world. Most of those are longer-term bets, right? Within 3 to 5 years, I'm guessing we're going to have a Chinese crypto, a Japanese crypto, and a U.S. crypto.
That's exactly where I was just about to go with you. Because you have the Chinese working on their digital currencies. You've got comments from Japanese lawmakers saying that they want to see this brought up in G7 discussions this year. You've got possibilities coming out of India as well. I wonder if you think the U.S. is falling behind on this.
The U.S. is falling behind a little bit, but listen, the bulk of the technology is still being developed here. The regulators have been slow, completely slow. And I think Libra kind of was a kick in the stomach to say, hey, we need to take this seriously and figure things out. The single biggest concern with U.S. regulators is money laundering, KYC, AML, North Korean financing. And so we're going to see something from Treasury in the next few months that kind of put some guardrails around Bitcoin. I think that's a positive. I think this as a weapon in macro portfolios is actually happening now. I used to do meetings and have to convince people how Bitcoin worked and whatnot. Now I talk about this as a weapon in their macro portfolio, as a hedge against inflation, as a hedge against easy monetary policy and debasement of fiat currency.
No, the dollar's been going up. I mean, the dollar index is like 99. It's had a pretty steady run here. Usually you would think the two are inversely.
But remember, gold's been going up too. And if you look at the way gold trades that it smells something wrong. Like this, maybe you believe in modern monetary theory. These guys seem to.
They're not clapping for you.
I wish they were clapping for me.
They're celebrating.
But some people believe in modern monetary theory, and we can print 5% budget deficits forever. Gold market tells you not everyone believes in it, because you would think with stocks at an all-time high, gold shouldn't be trading as well as it does. And so Bitcoin is a version of that. It's just on steroids because it's an early adoption.
Even if there are the use cases, you don't have to explain it anymore. At $200 billion, is it still not okay for people to kind of say, I don't really have to pay that much attention to it? I mean, if you're an institutional money manager or a wealthy individual?
Yeah, so what's interesting is, yes, you
can just let it do what it's going to do.
You can miss Tesla, and Tesla went from 40 billion to 160 billion. You can miss Bitcoin as it goes from 200 billion to a trillion. Right? Gold's $9 trillion. The biggest stocks are $1 trillion. Gold's $9 trillion. We could take all the gold that's ever been mined in the history of the world and fit it into a cube from that flag to here. Like, that's a pretty expensive sculpture. And so store of value is an interesting concept because we don't have many.
Yeah. We're showing your tweet here, Bitcoin versus Tesla. Well, Bitcoin 2017, what was that, was that a bubble time for Bitcoin?
Bitcoin 2017 was a bubble.
Yeah.
It happened around a really powerful story. It happened very quick, and there was a frenzy of buying. Tesla seemed to be similar this year. Like, Tesla's a great story. I have 2 Teslas. They're awesome cars. But
is it a bubble?
This combination of liquidity and height, I think all stocks are going to fly this year. You know, we're going to see. I was thinking back to like both 19.
Okay, I wanted to show you a lot of that. It's actually a good, it's a good interview. But I wanted to show you all that just to make sure you understand how all he's doing is flying the Bitcoin flag, and it irritates me because he's a Ripple investor, and I know for a fact that he knows everything that you and I know as XRP investors, and he constantly, and this interview is another example. He mentions that there's going to be a trust layer in this interview. Later in the interview, it's so long, I didn't want to make you wait. But he mentions that there's going to be a trust layer, and then he intentionally does not mention XRP. This guy, I'm telling you, and I'll just go through some of the things I commented about on Twitter. This is Chinu Patel had sent me his the interview that I just showed you, and I said, thanks, Chinu Patel. Mike Novogratz forgot to tell them that Bitcoin was the Commodore 64 of digital assets. XRP has always been the one, and yes, he does know that, and it would be, I would have no problem if Mike Novogratz was going on there and telling the truth, which is if he went on there and he said, look, I see Bitcoin as the first wave, which this is what he really thinks. I see Bitcoin as the first wave. I want to make my money on Bitcoin, but XRP is going to be the ultimate winner in all of this. He knows that. I know it. You know it. But I'm saying it, and he's not telling the total truth. He's speaking in code and all of this, and I don't think it's right. And I don't think it's right to talk like that when you know that there are a lot of people that are listening to my voice right now. Here, I'll spell it out for you. There's a lot of people that are listening to my voice right now, that this is your chance. This is the chance for average people out there to change their lives forever. And I don't appreciate it when guys like this are out there saying something that they know is not true. It's literal misdirection, and it's not right. And so I'm calling the guy out, and I keep calling the guy out, and I will keep calling the guy out. Brad Garlinghouse even called the guy out. And I wanted to also mention something important. CNBC, I said they're adding XRP without us hounding them. What is going on? This isn't normal. We've had to hound CNBC so often over this right here. What CNBC has always done on here is they would put Bitcoin, Ethereum, then they would skip XRP and they'd put like Litecoin here. And so we always would be, over the last couple of years, we'd tweet to them, what are you doing? XRP is the third in market cap. Why are you not including it? Why are you skipping it and putting Litecoin? It's like there's an agenda. Now, back to the Mike Novogratz, I also tweeted this out today. Hey, CNBC, you keep interviewing Mike Novogratz about crypto, and he's telling you the wrong story. It never was Bitcoin. It's dinosaur tech, and he knows it. XRP is and has always been the one. Interview Brad Garlinghouse if you want to understand the future of digital assets. And that, my friends, is the truth. And then he tweeted this out. Bitcoin, like gold, is a social construct. That is where it gets its value. Now, look, folks, when you see this word right here, I want you to understand that the guys that run the investing world, they literally come up with terms when it suits their needs. They come up with terms like quantitative easing. They come up with all sorts of terms like TARP. And this is always what they do. They create a marketing term that sounds like something they can sell, to sell you on something that isn't always as it seems. I've heard him, he did it in this tweet, and he also did it in the interview. He's created a new term. They created a marketing term for Bitcoin called store. They call it store of value. It's literally a marketing term. Now he's come up with social construct. He's calling Bitcoin a social construct. That is where it gets its value. And he knows that they have to come up with this kind of crap. And I do mean crap, in order to sell the public on it. Now, remember, folks, I'm an investor in Bitcoin. I'm telling you all this as an investor in Bitcoin. I do believe Bitcoin is going to be a store of value because I believe they've been successful in their marketing campaign, but that is all it is. Here's what social construct means, because I replied to his tweet. Social construct equals dinosaur technology with a, quote, store of value marketing budget. XRP is the one. And what I mean here, folks, is that, yes, I think Bitcoin is going to do very well, maybe in the short to mid run. It could do very badly in the long run. I don't know. But XRP has utility, as Brad Garlinghouse has always told us. XRP, or any digital asset, if it doesn't have real utility, if it's not solving a real problem, it will eventually go to zero. If there is one digital asset that doesn't happen to, it's only going to be Bitcoin, because Bitcoin has the first mover advantage. The big money people have put their marketing budget behind it, but that's all it is. And Mike Novogratz knows that's all it is. And I want to make sure you know what we're dealing with here. XRP is the one. Bitcoin might be able to slide through as a quote store of value because the big money players have decided that, but that's the only reason. All right. Now, I think we should also pay homage to probably a guy who is more disingenuous than Novogratz, and that is a guy named Tushar Jane. This guy runs, I think, a hedge fund. But listen to what he said. In this clip, he's going to explain to you why he thinks XRP being fast is a disadvantage. The highest form of ignorance is when you reject something you don't know anything about.
Let's talk about the idiosyncratic risk around shorting XRP. What are you shorting there? What's your expectation around XRP? Why are you so comfortable to short it?
There's a few things that make me comfortable shorting XRP. One is that I don't believe that the token economics are sound. Even with their XRapid product, which they like to talk up quite a lot, the velocity of the Ripple token is extremely high. So even if they were processing all of the world's international remittances, including all bank-to-bank transfers, the velocity is so high that the Ripple token, or all of the Ripple tokens in aggregate, need to be worth very little in order to actually facilitate that.
So I just feel like this guy deserves his place as a boob in crypto history. So I wanted to make sure that everybody knew exactly the things that some of these guys were saying in 2018 that I think hurt a lot of potential XRP investors. All right. And now from Michael at VAL5 Links. John Roll, the governor of the Central Bank of the Bahamas, has reportedly confirmed that the Bahamian Digital Dollar Initiative will be introduced across all islands in the second half of 2020. All of these central banks are working on their CBDCs, folks, and the bridge to the world will be what? The greatest digital asset ever created, XRP. Okay. This was a tweet I wanted to make sure you saw. This I'm not sure who this is. Let's see who it is. Cleve Misador, founder of Logos Blockchain. She says, "Awesome, Ripple DC having our hour at Mission tonight with Ron Hammond. Ron Hammond's the manager of government relations for Ripple, former legislative lead for the Token Taxonomy Act, former legislative assistant for Representative Warren Davidson, the dynamic crypto duo for Representative Darren Soto and Jade Duncan from Chamber of Digital Commerce." And remember, Representative Darren Soto is the guy that Coining 203 met with, and he's talking with about crypto and how the XRP community can help push all this along. Now, Mr. B tweeted this out and I retweeted it. When Ripple said 2020, the year of the digital asset, they clearly meant XRP. And they did say the year of the digital asset. And so I toasted Mr. B this morning on this. All right. And then this is awesome right here. I love this tweet. Now, for those of you that have been listening to me for a long time, I'm going to do a little bit of rehashing here, but it's important because there are people listening that are just now discovering this, and I want them to understand how I got here and why this was such a big deal. For those of you that don't know, I was a financial advisor at Morgan Stanley. Okay, I'm not a financial advisor now, but I was a financial advisor at Morgan Stanley. Okay, and when I first saw digital assets, okay, before I even discovered XRP, when I first saw digital assets, the first thing that came into my mind when I saw them was that this would be a new asset class. I'm about to explain that to you. An asset, when a financial advisor is trained, financial advisors across the world, retail or institutional, they are trained to meet with potential clients or current clients. I guess a client is when they're actually your customer. Okay, before it's a customer and then it's a client. Okay, but anyway, you would meet with a potential customer, potential client, and you would say, you would go over how there are different asset classes, and then you would present to them a portfolio called asset allocation, that you would allocate their investment, their savings. You would allocate those across the different asset classes, because different asset classes expose them to different assets and different varying risks. And so an older person might be heavier in bonds, which would be one asset class. A younger person might be more towards growth stocks or tech stocks, because they want to grow their portfolio as they head towards retirement, whereas that older person wants things that are less risky. And so you're trained to allocate these clients' portfolios percentage-wise to a certain percentage based on where they are in their life, how much money they have, how old they are, what their risk tolerance is. That's how you're trained to speak with clients and to guide them in where to put their money. Okay, well, this was a tweet and this is exactly the reason that I got into this. This is the reason that I know it's a two-part reason. First, I saw the bailouts and I saw the 2008 financial crisis, but the second was, once I saw how the financial crisis for me represented our government's finally telling us, look, we've created a complete disaster, and when all of it hits the fan, we're going to save ourselves. So when I saw digital assets, I saw a way to put money in something that the government could not manipulate. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing is this, what you're looking at, that this would be the first new asset class since the creation of bonds in 1693. And Rainbow tweeted this out. The first official government bond, the first ever government bond, was issued by the Bank of England in 1693 to raise money to fund a war against France. So I retweeted this and I said, 327 years later comes a new asset class, and Ripple declares 2020 the year of the digital assets. Now, I was telling someone on the phone yesterday, this was my initial thought. Hey, if this is a new asset class, the least of the asset classes, gold, has about or precious metals has about $8 trillion in it. So if this is the first new asset class since the creation of bonds, then it stands to reason if the asset class with the least amount of money in it, $8 trillion in gold and silver, okay, if that asset class has $8 trillion, even as we sit here, as I talk to you today, this asset class now still only has $306 billion in it, folks. Okay, well, that's just one part of this. So since that time, I've discovered Ripple and XRP and found out what utility would mean, which would mean many, many more trillions of dollars flowing through XRP. Okay, but I want to focus on this. Just to some of you new people out there, listen up and listen close. Okay, I just told you what an asset class is. Now, this is an actual chart. This is an actual chart. When I was a financial advisor, I would take this and actually show this to potential clients. And this is what this shows people. These are the years up top here, 2005 to 2019. What it illustrates to a potential client is, look, in every year, all of these different asset classes, and emerging markets is one, real estate investment trust. This is high grade bonds. Okay, these are all either asset classes or subsets of asset classes. Here you've got small cap stocks, large cap stocks. But it illustrates to a potential client, for a financial advisor, it tells them, look, in every year, different asset classes outperform the other ones. In 2005, it's emerging markets. 2006, it was real estate investment trusts. 2013, it was small cap stocks. And then in 2019, it was large cap stocks. But the point is, these financial advisors are trained, folks. They're trained to tell their potential clients, look, we're gonna spread your money out. Well, where do digital assets come in? Well, these financial advisors have always been trained that commodities, gold and silver, is a sliver, is part of the pie chart of where you tell your clients to park some of those assets. It might be 1% to 5%, depending on who the client is. What I've said from day one, and what is going to happen, and what is happening now, is that 0.5% to 5%, and imagine this, 0.5% to 5% of all portfolios, retail and institutional in the entire world, are going to go to digital assets. XRP is the greatest digital asset ever created, and we'll get a large piece of that 0.5% to 5%. That is the fact, Jack. Okay. Now let's look at what all that money in the world looks like. Okay. And remember, we're not even talking about the utility, which is an even bigger deal for XRP. This is from a website called the visualcapitalist.com. Let me have a sip of my coffee. I'm doing a lot of talking. Now look, I'm making my video today a little bit longer than normal, but part of that reason is there's so much to cover and there are so many new people coming in. You need to know these things, and I'm trying to get it across before it's too late for many of you. This is from 2017, so these numbers are probably higher today, a lot of them. Okay, the silver market has 17 billion in it. Cryptocurrency, now this is back then, okay? This was before the market crashed. Well, I don't know exactly. 2017, it may have been before the market went up. But anyway, today, just to update this, in cryptocurrency, we only have 306 billion in total, folks. Now look, silver, 17 billion. This is what's in all of this. The biggest companies, Berkshire Hathaway, Microsoft, Google, Apple, Facebook, Amazon, 807 billion. Now these are higher numbers now, folks. 50 richest people, 1.9 trillion. California's GDP, 2.9 trillion. Fed's balance sheet, 3.5. I'm sure that's a lot higher. Currency, 7.6 trillion. Gold is around 8 trillion now, I think. Stock markets of the world, let me say this loudly for you folks. $73 trillion in the world's stock markets, folks. Imagine what would happen if 0.5% to 5% of all portfolios contained digital assets, XRP being the greatest among them. Global money supply, $36.8 trillion. Broad money, $90.4 trillion. Global debt, $215 trillion. Folks, global real estate, 217 trillion. The derivatives market, $544 trillion. Folks, does my 7-year-old need to draw a picture of all of this for you? Because look, I've never been more serious about what I'm talking about than I am today. Today, I mean, you are literally going into something that is going to change the entire landscape of who you look at walking down the street that you point to and say, wow, that guy's really wealthy. This is going to change all of that. In your town, think of the 2, 3, 4, 5 wealthiest people in your town. Now, give the average Joe in your town a couple of 100,000 XRP, and all of a sudden he's going to be more wealthy than any of them. That's what's coming, and I'm not exaggerating. Okay, and I believe every word I'm telling you, by the way, and I've put my money where my mouth is too, folks. Okay, from XRP Stewart, this is a quote from Brad Garlinghouse in December 2019. It's been a tremendous, tremendous year for Ripple. He says, adding that the company will be disclosing more numbers and major announcements in early 2020. December 2019, Brad Garlinghouse. What do you think the major announcements will be? And then from Cryptopolis, and for those of you that don't know, remember, Ripple's mission in their entire company's, their mission statement is to replace SWIFT. Cryptopolis tweeted this out. If you had any doubt, Ripple can take really over Swift's market share. Just read some of the former employee reviews of Swift on Glassdoor. And here's some of the reviews. I worked at Swift full-time more than 10 years. Pros, old-style IT firm, waterfall to Scrum. Cons, lack of new technology. They still use mainframe. Cons, legacy of too much hierarchy, too many people ambling along to retire on the job, too many people waiting for promotions, too many acronyms. Cons, outdated culture, uncommunicative management, little room for advancement. Cons, nepotism, no growth, dictatorial managers, too slow, employees overworked, below industry salary, eroding benefits. Does my 7-year-old need to draw you a picture? The crypto utility guy at Utility Guy 7 sent me this from CNBC. I'm just going to play the first part of this so that you understand. Listen, folks, for the last 10 years, the economies of the world, the central banks, the governments, they have printed money at will. They have destroyed your money. This is all a buildup to collapse or rolling into a new financial system, which I believe is digital assets, folks. Listen to how they are the repo markets. They've been hitting the print button for the last 6 months. And look, now this is how desperate they're getting now. Listen up.
I've learned the White House is considering
Wait, I'm going to do a refresh here. 1 sec.
Considering ways to incentivize U.S. households to purchase stocks as part of its forthcoming tax package, according to 4 senior administration officials familiar with these discussions. One of these proposals would see a portion of household income treated as tax-free if it were invested in stocks, according to these officials. Under one scenario, a hypothetical scenario, a household earning up to $200,000 could invest $10,000 tax-free in the market. That's beyond contributions to traditional 401ks. American households owning stock fell by 10 percentage points after the recession. Despite the rise during President Trump's tenure so far, only 55% of households are currently invested, according to Gallup. This proposal would be part of a package of tax cuts expected to be introduced this fall before the election as a sort of
exactly before the election. What this is about, folks, is that they know this is all built up for a collapse. They know it. So Trump's doing what any incumbent would do. He's doing whatever he has to do to get reelected. And so they're going to keep this whole Ponzi scheme going as long as they can. And at some point, I believe this year, probably before the election, they're going to roll this into the new digital asset economy. That's what I believe is happening. Okay. And I believe that that's why you're starting to see the markets move. I believe that's why Ripple called this the year of the digital asset. I think it's all been planned a long time ago, folks. Now, listen to this, because this guy explains to you in very simple terms why all this eventually collapses and why it's a joke.
The Fed needs to do everything they can to continually increase asset prices, increase debt, and maintain confidence. But the only tools that they have to do that are artificially low interest rates and quantitative easing. This produces extreme wealth inequality because only a small portion of the population actually own the assets that the Fed is driving up in price. The rest of the population drown in a sea of debt, student loan debt, auto debt, consumption debt. It makes it impossible for them to save money. Because the Fed has distorted the real economy so much, it makes it impossible for them to attain what they need to actually get ahead.
Excellent 54 seconds right there. Spread that around as much as you can. Everybody needs to know this is all set up for a collapse. It just is. Okay, XRP Honey Bear sent me this. This is from Bank XRP. Crypto heavyweights Coinbase, Polychain, and Paradigm invest $28 million in Hong Kong crypto trading firm. And finally, many of you, before I show you the next thing, many of you have never seen, a lot of you are new, you've never seen the Rich List stats. You can see this at ledger.exposed /rich-stats. You can see this. Vitze Vin had created this website. what this is, it shows you where your holdings of XRP put you, okay? Now, the only caveat here is that most people that own XRP have more than one wallet, and so it's not an exact science here, but it's a fun thing to look at. If you want to be in the top 1% of XRP holders in the world, you own somewhere around 73,000 XRP. You can see where this goes on up into the stratosphere. I think a lot of people probably want to have around 20,000 that have been around for a while. I think that's probably a number that most people have. They're in the 3%. Now, finally, I wanted to show you something that I've shown this before on this channel, and if you've seen it before, you might want to stop now. But there's a lot of people that are getting into this, and a lot of people that are new. If you don't understand, and I'm not an accountant, okay, and I'm not a tax advisor or whatever, but I do have in the description of every video that I have done, there's a link for token tax. Token tax helps you with your crypto taxes. Crypto taxes are very important because you are going to pay taxes on your gains, okay? But many of you may not understand that the way the IRS views this right now, they may change it, I don't know, but the way they view it right now is every sell from Bitcoin to XRP or XRP to Cardano or whatever you're buying and selling, every one of those transactions is considered a taxable event. It's a complete nightmare to try to keep up with. I hope they change it. But for now, they haven't changed it. And so now these guys, token tax, what they do is they allow you to literally upload, and I'm going to show you this video, but they literally allow you to upload all of your transactions from whatever platform you're using, and they help you do your taxes and to accurately calculate what your taxes are. I worked a deal with the CEO of Token Tax where they give I've got a coupon code. It's in the description of every video I do. There's a coupon code that will give you 10% off if you go and open a Token Tax account, whatever package you decide is for you. Watch this because we're headed towards tax season. And don't forget, it's a 10% coupon, and there's also a link to their website in the description of every video I do. So watch this.
Token tax is the world's best way to quickly and easily file your cryptocurrency taxes. Token tax.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't paying attention. Let me refresh that, okay? Let me do this. Here we go.
Token tax is the world's best way to quickly and easily file your cryptocurrency taxes. Token tax works with every crypto exchange. It comes through your crypto data and generates all the forms you'll need to correctly and confidently file your taxes. Oh, and did we mention it works in every country? Getting started with token tax is easy and fast. Here's how it works. First, sign up for an account and complete your tax profile. Next, add your crypto data using either a CSV upload or by connecting to your crypto exchange. Choose your preferred accounting method and download your tax forms. And that's it, you're done. With token tax, you can sit back and relax, knowing your crypto taxes are being done right. So get started today.
How about that? I love that video. That's why I show it every once in a while. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe and hit the like button and tell your friends and family that if they need help with their crypto taxes, to go in the description of any of my videos. Thank you for listening.